Praise 100.9, Charlotte's Inspiration Station.
Hey, we're here with Sir the Baptist. Let's talk about some of your music.
Okay.
Deliver Me. Tell us about that.
Deliver Me was initially a song to inspire the men that don't know that you're hurting a woman. So it's like, let me inspire you to look at it a different perspective.
Right.
You know, so initially it starts with a story about my sister. She was beat by her husband, who was the deacon in the church at the time. And my dad, pastor, at the time didn't do much to stop it.
Right.
I don't know if he just wanted to stay out of it or they hadn't come to him for counseling yet
Classic
or whatever.
church story, right.
Right. But in that story, I realized that there's a such thing as mental damage.
Right.
And as a man, when you get to that understanding, you try to do better. You try to be more clear, more straightforward, you know, more honest, more less a game and more of, you know, how can I be transparent with you? So that was initially the piece of it. Now we've done more with it. We did a short film where we dealt with domestic violence in a church, which
Right.
is rarely dealt with, but should be.
Why do you think that is?
I don't think it's the story we want to paint of our culture.
Right.
You know, but in order to fix some things, you have to expose them.
Right.
And you don't have to expose them to the world necessarily, but at least expose them to the family that's there
Right.
inside so that we can know what we're doing to contribute to the trauma.
And where do you think that comes from? Like I said, it's a classic story. Do you think that what goes on in church is reflective of what's happening in the world, or is it incubated because we don't talk about it in church? What are your thoughts about that?
I think in church, the chauvinistic thinking contributes to it. Mm-hmm. And if we could fix that, it would kind of help us know how to treat women differently.
Right.
It puts the man over the household, it puts the man over this, and that, which is great, but it also, in a lot of places, silence women.
Right.
You know, and I remember growing up, the women had to wear hats, they had to cover their heads,
right.
They had to, you know, there's
Right.
so many things, and it's like, give them some sort of voice. You couldn't be a preacher.
Right.
It's just there's been so many rules for so long. Also, you know, there's in the history of religion, there's this thing of the Catholics shaming Mary to make her look like a prostitute.
Right.
You know, there's so many things on top of things to sort of discredit woman for
Right.
being the sort of to sort of like they birthed the gospel, because when the guys kind of threw it away,
Right.
they popped up and was like, no, we got you, man. Like,
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, if we could fix that, and I don't think that's something that and most artists are willing to even talk about in gospel, because they want to be on the radio, they want to be played, they want the church to sing the song on
Right.
Sunday, you know, because if you can't get a church to sing the song on Sunday, it's almost like not getting your song played in the club.
Absolutely,
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
So you have that sort of that thing that holds people back from being honest.
Having to toe the line to kind of to make do and be friends.
Yeah. But back in testimony service, I remember an old lady getting up and saying, "Hey, my husband cheated last night. And you know what I do when that happens? Pray my strength in the Lord."
Wow.
You know, like it used to be that honest.
Right.
So now I'm just trying to implement that honesty in our daily music.
So has there been an evolution, maybe necessarily or maybe not necessarily, at the church, whether it's the church or the denomination that you grew up in, or did that evolution in you come about outside of church?
I think it was the same time.
Yeah.
Because when I went to study and challenge myself spiritually, because I went away and didn't watch TV, and to this day now I don't watch TV at all because I'm used to it.
Right.
No music or anything. When I went away, I noticed that the church was changing at the same time, and allowing women to to not just be in skirts, but wear pants or all these other things. Like there's
Right.
a million, you know what I mean? So they start growing at the same time, but there's still certain things that we lack. That sort of looks like the church is similar to Trump sometimes.
Right, right. And it's funny because we have to find the balance between progressing and respecting tradition. And,
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
a tough thing to balance.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and I think for whatever reason it plays out, ironically, for women, and the church is identified as feminine.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the church is identified as the bride.
Yeah.
But it's a challenge for women, even when you're trying to do the right thing, like, you know, how short, how long or short can your
Right,
skirt
right,
be? And
right.
if you're wearing pants,
Right.
do these pants really look okay? There's
Right.
always this questioning and positioning that women are always placed in, which is really, I had never thought about, you know, the church being the bride, having to go through the same thing. What do you embrace that's new, and holding on to tradition and trying to balance those things? That's fascinating.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
fascinating.
And I was watching a guy who we're becoming good friends. He's a Muslim, and he said that the hijab was being worn wrong a few times by this young lady that was coming to the mosque or whatever. He really got on the elders for getting on her like that. Like, hey, give her like 3 weeks, you know, let her come back.
Give her a
You know what I
minute.
mean? And it's I think the church, while giving pouring into somebody's spirit and soul and self-esteem as well, because you know
Yeah.
all of that comes with the dressing and everything. Give her time to for the God in her to be on its way. Give time for maturation. Give time
Right.
for her to grow. You know what I mean? So let her come in. If she's wearing the same thing she would wear in the club, let her wear that for the first Sunday.
Right.
And the next Sunday say, hey, you know, I want to introduce you to some friends, and let those friends have on what you desire for her
Right.
to. You know what I mean? We have to do it in a more considerate pace.
I had a teacher when I was in college that said, she always said, if you preach and teach and express the love of God, the skirt will come down. And my pastor says it like this: don't allow people to pressure you to do in 5 days what took them 5 or 50 years to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's the way for it when it comes down to that. And then other stuff is just, it takes time. And it's gonna take some of the artists talking about it to build awareness, you know? Like, most people don't wanna talk about it.
Well, we appreciate you talking about it. He's Sir the Baptist. He's a thinker, a listener, and a talker.
Praise 100.9, Charlotte's Inspiration Station.